Hello, once again. Welcome to another seminar webinar on Black maternal mental health. The previous webinar, we were unable to complete the full. We were unable to complete it fully. However, this time we are going to get everything done. So here we go. Oh, crap. Can you believe this? Sorry, folks, about that. My screen went gaga on me. Um, okay, sorry about that. Here we go. Technical difficulties. I think we are good now. Okay. So, yes, my name is Nana Iyayebua, and I will be going through this webinar on Black maternal mental health. So, we'll be addressing postpartum challenges and then also breaking stigmas. So, as I said, my name is Bernadette. You can call me Bernadette, or you can call me Nana Iyayebua. I am a registered nurse by profession. I am passionate about Black women's mental health and perinatal mental health. I also passionate about leadership. So some of my webinars will also be on leadership. Now I also host a podcast, the Nanaya Yabua podcast, the platform on which this webinar is coming through. To contact me, you can either call me by with the you can either call my cell phone, text me or WhatsApp me, or send me an email at filjo@live.ca and also visit my website. Once again, my apologies to the beginning, testing my techni- technicalities. Now, this is a safe online space to have conversations about mental health. So, we are here because we need to support either each other and also to learn. This is a live recording, so all my challenges are out there to the world. So anybody who is thinking about creating webinars and everything, it is a lesson. So every time I learn different lessons, trying to be a one woman connection and doing everything. The intention is that this webinar is about 30 to 40 minutes, so or less if I can make it so. But once again, thank you so much for those who have come online, those who are watching wherever you're watching. I do hope and pray that you get something out of this and share with people who need it. All right. So, introduction to Black maternal mental health, or what otherwise we'll also call perinatal mood disorders. My particular focus is on Black women, and it took me some time to arrive here. 2 years ago, I went to a grief and loss conference. At the conference, I realized that for Black people, our voices are not there, our representation is not there. And also, upon the realization that nobody is going to do it for us, we need to tell our stories. We need to navigate systems and create systems that are for us, culturally meant to understand the nitty gritty of who we are as a community. Even though we're not a hegemonic community, we still do have similarities that we can tap into. So that is where I am coming from. The understanding of all these perinatal mood disorders and also Black people's mental health is also to assist us in advocacy, because if you don't know, how are you going to advocate for the next person? So that is why I am doing what I am doing. So, in today's webinar, which is the model three of the full webinar that I was supposed to present, but it was going to take too long, so I broke it into different models. So, this is the short version of model three. The objective of this model is to define and differentiate postpartum mental health conditions, or perinatal mood disorders, the other name. Discuss the impact of stigma, which is a huge deal. So I will break it down and delve a little bit more into that as well. And also, my aim is to provide strategies for awareness and support, which is this education. This education, this teaching provides us the awareness and the education and then the resources within the community. So, like I said, we are going to go through the baby blues, postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and the biggest of all within the mental health sphere is stigma. And stigma is something that affects all of us, but we're going to break it down culturally, as Black people, why many times the stigma does impact and affect us. So let's talk about the continuum of postpartum mental health. Having a baby is supposed to be a beautiful thing. You get pregnant for 40 weeks, or say you come in 36 weeks and you have your baby. The expectation is that the baby is here, baby is healthy, and everything should go according to plan. You should be happy that you've had your baby. Yes, that is what we're all looking for. But sometimes it doesn't go that way. So, what is the baby blues? Baby blues is mild, it's common, and normally resolves within a few days. Many women go through the baby blues, but it doesn't last long. Postpartum depression, on the other hand, on the continuum is moderate to severe. It may or may not require intervention, but most often than not, it is better to require intervention and mitigate it. Now, postpartum psychosis, on the other hand, is rare, but it's also severe and it is a medical emergency. As we're going through it, I will be looking at the symptoms and everything of each individual, and we will be breaking it down. Now, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so. On the channel, I bring you webinars and beautiful interviews with amazing people to talk about, to have conversations that inspire and to motivate you as well. So let's get back to this continue. The take home from this webinar is to look at the impact of life factors on pregnant and birthing populations, women, to unravel the definitions of perinatal mood disorders, and as I outlined at first, postpartum psychosis, baby blues, and postpartum depression looks at the signs and symptoms, the coping strategies, and importantly, the role of families and friends in this journey for the new parent or the new parents. Now, one may ask what causes perinatal mood disorders. So you got to remember that when you're pregnant, your hormones are going all over the place. Your hypothalamus and the pituitary gland are responding to these stresses, these hormonal changes. So sometimes after you have the baby, your hormones change, and involuntarily, you have no control over it. Your body begins to change in addition to it. Most especially, say you just had the baby, your body has been going through labor and you are exhausted, and you see the baby with all the stress and everything. Many women just, burst out crying, and sometimes it's tears of joy or tears of unbelievability, and it takes time, it resolves. But where it doesn't resolve is where we get really concerned. So the changes in response to stress on the body is acknowledged. Now, estrogen and progesterone dysregulation may occur as well. And this may also cause you to have perinatal mood disorder. So that is the acronym PMD. There may be genetic and epigenetic factors, such as a family history of mental health disorders. So if your family has history of anxiety and depression, it may give you, it puts you in a higher risk of any of these postpartum, disorders. If before pregnancy you were also diagnosed with any mood or anxiety disorder, including depression, that makes you also a high risk for getting that. So, at any point in time, and this is what I always tell friends and family, if any of you know this is what you're going through, then when you're coming in, you're mentally prepared. Your family is also mentally prepared to support you in this journey. This journey is not a singular journey. Unfortunately for us in the western part of this country, of this world, we think of birthing as a singular journey. It is not. Where I come from and what I understand is that it takes a village, and many African societies says it takes a village, and it is not the Western concept of it takes a village. Um, Now, let's look at stressful life factors. So sometimes you get a young woman or even a matured woman come in, say single person, and it's an unplanned pregnancy. The partner is not available. There is a lot of stress, or the family dynamics are not the best. So this unplanned pregnancy causes extra stress on the birthing mother, and this may be part of the reason or reasons why they have a PMD later on. Sometimes there's lack of partner, family, and social support, so that may go hand in hand in it being an unplanned pregnancy. Stressful life events. If a young person or older person, you've lost your job, you've kind of figuring out how to, survive, and you're facing homelessness and then you're pregnant as well. It is difficult. If it's a first birth, sometimes first birth also gives a lot of, stress. How am I going to do this? And the challenges that comes with parenting, whether I'm worthy or I can do it right. We're also looking at multiple birth. What does that mean? Multiple birth also means that, if it's twins, triplets, quadruplets, unexpected, all these add onto the stressful life factors. Some women also face challenges with breastfeeding or chest feeding difficulties. This which leads to them feeling guilty, or having a sense of failure of, being that good parent and doing it right. And infants with health problems, when some women deliver and the babies are admitted to the NICU, those challenges as well. So, continuing on, the factors that impact on mental health are low socioeconomic status, past or current abuse, including infant abuse, gender based violence, intimate partner violence. So, if you have a woman who has gone through all these challenges of abuse within the relationship, that may also be that puts them at a higher risk of postpartum, PMDs. Marginalization or stigmatization as a result of identification with an equity denied group, such as racialized persons. So, this is where people come into the hospital or assess medical care, and they are looked at based on the color of their skin, based on their sexuality, not as human beings. So they feel stigmatized and marginalized, and that also does affect. And also, sleep deprivation during the postpartum period can impact as well. So, postpartum depression has a 25 to 50% reoccurrence. And I did talk about psychiatric illness in family and family members. And for those on, say, antidepressants, etc., a discontinuation in relevant in a discontinuation of pharmacotherapy related to mood or anxiety disorder management. So, if you are on any medications when you are pregnant, do not get off it. Speak to your doctor first. If it needs to be adjusted, it will be adjusted. Otherwise, your case becomes difficult to deal with post. So, this is where I say, please, if you are on any mood or anxiety disorder management medications, have a conversation with your therapist or your psychiatrist or whatnot before, or your family doctor. Do not stop cold turkey. There has to be a plan in place. Sometimes there's a significant medical complications or adverse perinatal outcomes, which means that if, for instance, there is, say, the baby is in dire need and there's a start c-section, there's complications, or you develop pregnancy induced hypertension, eclampsia or pre-eclampsia, any of those, or your gestational diabetes, all these things that make you high risk. Sometimes the stress become much, and then um, it becomes difficult to deal with. There's also traumatic birth experiences, which said earlier, as in medical complications when you have to deal with a C-section, which is unplanned, and sometimes too when you have to deal with the negative outcome of the baby, and so you have to, deal with that. That also can cause postpartum depression as well. and deep deprivation and lack of support after you have the baby. So, in a sense, we're looking at this conversation from before birth, during the birthing period, to post after the birthing period. Okay. So what is baby blues? So the baby blues is an emotional instability shortly after birth. So like I explained earlier, sometimes some women burst into tears. So that tearfulness, some women become irritable. You need to give them a little bit of space. When they become irritable, be there, listen to them. So the symptoms include fatigue, anxiety, and mood swings. So the baby blues affects up to 80% of all new mothers. So it's not something out of the blue. The baby blues is real. And sometimes some mothers just need a little bit of space. Some women will tell you, "I'm not ready to take the baby. Keep the baby for a little bit, and let me get myself together, and then I'll take the baby." So for us, it's communicated to you. Say, for instance, a labor and delivery nurse, then have empathy towards the mom. Listen and come in as best. And if there's a father around or another family member around, give the baby to that family member to soothe until mom is ready. So the baby blues often resolves within 2 weeks of onset without medical intervention. So occasionally, if you see them tearful and whatnot, and but they're still feeding their babies and taking care of their babies, it's okay. It will pass. But now, when it doesn't pass, that is where our problem lies. Postpartum depression. So it's a continuum. If the blues don't stop, then we headed towards somewhere else. What is postpartum depression? So, postpartum depression is a prolonged depressive state occurring within the first year postpartum. So this gives you an idea that it may not come immediately. It may be a couple of months afterwards, but within the first year after a woman delivers, every woman is at risk. So we need to be mindful of that. So the symptoms, some of the symptoms include persistent sadness, loss of interest, difficulty bonding with baby, and thoughts of self-harm. So that is a trigger. That is a red flag. Thoughts of self-harm. We all know where thoughts of self-harm goes to. So the risk factors include hormonal changes, lack of support, history of mental health issues. That is why I did talk about, if you have a history of mental health issues, do not stop your medications cold turkey. Please don't. See your psychiatrist, your therapist, and have a plan in place. Impact on Black mothers. Now, this is where the cultural stigmas come in. And for Black mothers, most especially barriers to accessing health care. So here in Canada, yes, you get health care. Yes, but is it healthcare that understands where you're coming from as a Black woman? What are the nuances? So that is where the cultural stigmas and the barriers comes in. And sometimes you have immigrant women coming in. There's the language barriers and say students who do not have access to care. That all impacts this. In this next slide, we're going to talk about postpartum psychosis. So, when I was a child growing up and I heard that a woman delivered and didn't want to touch their children or left their children out, out there for the children to die from the elements and whatnot. It's really made me start thinking, why do women do this in the developing countries? What are they going through that we are not catching? And all these are part of the symptoms they are going through. It is a rare and severe mental health condition occurring postpartum, and the mean duration of the illness is 40 days. So within 40 days, when a woman starts going through postpartum psychosis, please call 911, carry this woman to emergency, because it is indeed an emergency. So the symptoms may include insomnia, mood fluctuations, obsessive concerns regarding the newborn, disorganized behavior, severe mood symptoms, manic depressive or mixed symptoms, delusions, hallucinations, mood swings. So if anything, if it doesn't look right, doesn't sound right, please, if your family member around them, this is where you come in. You need to take them to the hospital, whether they like it or not, whether by crook or by hook or by crook. If you need to bundle them, take them to the hospital, because it's a mental health emergency which requires immediate intervention. Fortunately, now we are getting some psychiatrists who are focusing specifically on perinatal mood disorders. And these psychiatrists are the best because they look at it from where the woman is coming from and not the general population of psychosis. So the treatment may be slightly different and the combinations than a psychiatrist who doesn't understand postpartum psychosis and the hormonal changes that comes with it and whatnot. So the prevalence of postpartum PPP, postpartum psychosis, is 1 to 2 in every 1,000 women may get it. And the risk factors include history of bipolar disorder or previous psychosis. So any woman who's gone through any of these, has a history of bipolar disorder or has gone through depression and psychosis ever before, the risk is high. So if you're a healthcare professional and you're caring for such a woman, please be mindful. Are they still on the medications? Are the medications tailored? And is there a follow up plan within the community to actually support these women through the transition? Because any of these women going through difficulties with, say, breastfeeding are going to start bashing themselves and then feeling insignificant, incapable of being a good mother. And when you allow the brain to ruminate, the brain will ruminate. So like I said earlier, postpartum psychosis is a psychiatric emergency and often involves involuntary hospital admission. Let's get on. So, let's the impact of perinatal mood disorders on the family. So, number one, it hinders attachment and bonding to the baby. So you got to understand that as social beings, we thrive on being close to others and being held. And babies, most especially, that is the language they understand, being held skin to skin, breastfeeding, or whatnot. So if a baby doesn't have those attachment and bonding from the parent, it has an impact on the baby's growth miles as well. Also, think about the intellectual, emotional, social, and psychological development of the baby, the child, the children, and also the family, the husbands, the extended family. It causes a lot of family stress, and poverty may lead to abuse. So, if the family is financially challenged and this is also going on, it may lead to abuse of the physical, emotional, and then it rolls into psychological issues. And the impact of the family is also with the lack of knowledge of what perinatal mood disorders are, what the blues are, what depression is, and what psychosis is also comes stigmatization. And when I say that, it comes with that being, let me take it back to being, culturally situated, being typically African. When a woman has a child and is the unable to bond with the child or doesn't want to hold the child, now we not understanding that there's mood disorders going on, we tend to ask, why is she like that? It's like, you just had a baby, you should be happy, you have to be happy. No, there is something going on with this woman. That is why she is having those challenges. For us, we need to ask, what is going on? How can we help you? Delve into the matter and then figure it out and give her the necessary support and or treatment that the mother deserves. So back here, when we look at barriers to care, culture is one part of it. Differences in culture of where you coming from to where you are. Religious, different religions have different expectations. Whether you are Christian, you are Muslim, you are Hindu, you are whatever your religion is. We've talked about access to care, fear of being judged, fear of stigmatization, language barriers, and lack of diversity. Now, when I say lack of diversity, what I mean is that when, for instance, in my professional life, when any black woman or a Filipino or Indian walk into a space where there are a lot of other Caucasians and they see me, there's a sense of, oh, okay, I've seen somebody who may understand me, who might have immigrated here and will be on my side. And let me tell you, and this is a personal experience, that I was taking care of a lady. She was an Indian woman who was, fully dilated in labor. And when I was about to leave, and the nurse taking over was a Caucasian, she asked me to stay. And when I said, "Oh, my time is off and I need to go," she burst out crying. This woman cried so much it broke my heart, because you know what? Her previous experience was not a great experience. She felt like she was stigmatized, she was not cared for. And because I came in and I did everything that I needed to do and I did listen, so she felt that there was this bond. And I understood where she was coming from, because she was alone and she was lonely, and the husband was home with the other two children, so she didn't have that support. And so when I came in with my beautiful self, with my joy and my laughter and empathy and everything, she felt like she needed me. So all these things affect the care that we give to people, either positively or negatively. Now let's come to stigma. How would you define stigma? So, stigma is a mark of disgrace or being, viewed from a negative stance. So, for those that are Catholics, you have that Christian thing in the hand, stigmata. So, it gives you the idea, that mark. But to say somebody is stigmatized is the negation of how we see that person. So, stigma in mental health across the board impede women from asking for help. Oh, there's a typo there. Impede women from asking for help. So some have the sense that they should be able to handle everything that makes them a woman, stigma may be perceived. I may think somebody has something against me because I'm a Black woman and I'm pregnant, and I may be a single woman, or I may be a difficult woman. It may be self directed, which means we project it onto ourselves. Healthcare professionals directed, which is happens a lot when pregnant Black people walk into a space and there's a perceived notion already about them. Stigma may be structural or associative as well. And stigma is a big thing because it contributes to a risk to safety and access to care. Because if I don't feel safe, I ain't coming. And if I feel that I'll be stigmatized, then I don't also want to come to a place where I am going to be stigmatized. So we need to be aware of that. So, some of the sources of stigma are cultural expectations. And my biggest beef is with our cultural expectations of, I'm a strong Black woman. No, I have to be able to do everything. No. There's also distrust of the healthcare systems. And that I can say for sure that there's been a time or two, uh, and that is an understatement, of Black women birthing, and there has to be, how do we call it? A doctor is performing an episiotomy without pain medication, and they, oh yeah, Black women, you people are strong, you can be able to withstand that pain. It is not right. Everybody goes through pain, but because of the way education of healthcare professionals have been within the system, they think that Black women don't go through pain. And some of us have also put it in us that, oh, we can withstand the pain, and we need to break that. So back to what I'm saying. So distrust of the healthcare system as to the treatment of Blacks or Black birthing mothers also impacts, and then the fear of judgment. So the consequences of all these becomes delayed diagnosis and treatment. So if I am having issues with attachment and having mood disorders, and when I come, it's like sometimes some doctors will say, oh, don't worry, to go away, to go away. Many women go through that. But when a woman comes to you, it's truly genuine that they need that help and that they need to be treated. So when there's delayed diagnosis, delayed treatment, that increases the risk of complications. So in order for us to break the stigma, that means we have to have open conversations and representation in advocacy. It is now that I'm beginning to see quite a few Black, doulas and Black therapists and everything within the society that speaks to us. And that is very, very good and rewarding to see. The next question that I ask is, how do we minimize and prevent stigma against, the biopic population? So for healthcare professionals who may not know or understand, all these cultural nuances when it comes to perinatal mood disorders, when you are having conversations with Black people, be mindful, have mindful conversations, be open minded. When you are asking questions, be mindful of the language you are using, because the language may either help them open up or close up. So mindful conversations needs to be practiced and utilized. For us Black people within the professional space as therapists and everything, we need to call out the biases that promote hate. So some of these biases do not help, and it promotes, stigmatization and hate and all these judgmentalism, which is not good. So we need to be aware of it. For us within the practice and everywhere from beginning to end, we need to practice empathy and compassion. Imagine if it was you, if it was your family member, how would you feel, irrespective of race, color, or creed? We need to work with empathy and compassion. We also need to continuously educate ourselves on mental health challenges. Listen to people's stories. Stories matter. The more you listen to people's stories of challenges, of triumphs, of, how they are able to navigate the systems, it gives you more information on how to help people, how to have mindful conversations, and also to self reflect on the biases that you may have that impede on care. So, seeking help and treatment. So, everything that is going on, you cannot do it by yourself. If you are going through the blues, for instance, and you have a partner, you have an extended family member there, you have a neighbor who is an older lady who, you can call on to come and, babysit, please do. You need rest, you need support, and you need self care. Take care of yourself. Get up, take a shower, sleep as much as you can, and call on people. Pick up the phone, call, I need help. Are you available? And you get a person or two who needs something to do who will come and support you. Postpartum depression. Postpartum depression, you need therapy, you may need medication and support groups. So there's family around, there's friends around. When you're looking, when the person is going through postpartum depression, please support them in that journey. At any point that you believe they're going through a psychotic break, they have a psychotic break, call 911. Take them to the take them to emergency. And as human beings, we leave clues. We don't just do. We leave clues on things that we want to do. And so when you have somebody going through psychosis, please call 911, take them. And there are resources, both local and national organizations, uh, and utilize Black mental health professionals as well. So, strategies for awareness and support. So, the intention of this webinar was to educate families and communities about maternal mental health, and also for awareness and support. As part of this, aside from educating families and communities, train healthcare providers to recognize symptoms early. So when you get a chance to go back, you look at the symptoms, you learn the symptoms, and so that when you know anybody or you recognize any symptoms within your family, within your workspace, the people you're caring for, whether you're a psychotherapist, etc., you're able to give them, the support. To advocate for policy supporting mental health access for all Black mothers, and also awareness to utilize faith based and cultural networks for support. Without awareness, there's no support. So, the more we become aware of issues such as this, then we know how to craft the support and how to go about it. So the resources I've talked about: psychotherapy, social support, and medication. So, summary of Model 3. So, perinatal mood disorders are influenced by life factors such as unplanned pregnancies, displacement, bias, racism, etc. When I talk about displacement, what I mean is women forcibly immigrated or refugees new to the country, young women who were sent here to school and unfortunately have gotten pregnant and are trying to navigate without family here. But this is where the community comes in, whether you are a Ghanaian community, Nigerian community, Somali community, Caribbean community, any part of the communities. This is where we come in to take care of This is where the concept of it takes a village comes in. That your child is not only your child is our child, and we come in to support you and make sure that this child and mother are in a cocoon of warmth and care. So, as families and care providers, understanding the different types of perinatal mood disorders will enable you to become better caregivers and advocates for your clients. And I can tell you for a fact that when I read on somebody's antenatal and I see that this is what, I make it a point to have conversations about that and ask them what are some of the expectations posed. And this helps me hone in on how best I can make that middle point where I come in, manageable for them, so that I don't add on to the stresses of delivering a baby. But when they leave where I they are okay. The intention is to close the gap through knowing what to look for, the signs and the symptoms, some coping strategies, and when to call your healthcare professional and seek medical attention. In conclusion, maternal mental health is crucial for the well being of mothers and families. Early recognition and support can save lives. And so, together, let's break the stigma to ensure Black mothers thrive. It is my responsibility. It is your responsibility. It is our collective responsibility. It takes a village, truly. Ampa. So, guys, thank you so much. This has been the third in the five models of Black maternal mental health. So the next model will focus on how to provide culturally relevant care in Black maternal health clients or patients. And this is very, very important. So I will go through everything related to culturally relevant care and application and it. Thank you so much for joining me in this session. It's been my pleasure. Thank you, everybody that came online. And I will see you with Model 4 talking about providing culturally relevant care in Black maternal mental health patients and clients.